What is up, Diet Busters? Hope everyone's having a great Friday, maybe closure to some of your guys' week. We just got back from a little family vacay for the week. It was supposed to be nice, about 55, 60 degrees according to our forecast, and we have this going on. So, yep, this is Colorado. So, yet again, if what you have planned sometimes doesn't necessarily work accordingly, we were awesome parents today and sent our littlest one with a vest, considering what the weather was supposed to be, and we looked like awesome parents since she didn't have a jacket today. So, yet again, what life plans for sometimes throws you a curveball. I think that kind of goes for a little segue of what I wanted to hop on here and talk about. So, first off, we've had a lot of people hop into the group. I want to say thank you so much for you guys being a part of this group. That means so much to us. I know we're going to, next week, we're going to be holding our free 3-day workshop to dive in, and a lot of you guys haven't necessarily had the chance for us to interact yet, but you want to say thank you so much for taking the time just to be part of this group. With that being said, I wanted to hop on here before I have to head out and go to our own facility to coach tonight. But wanted to hop on here, kind of touch on some of the two of the questions that I posted the last couple days. The first one was regarding essentially stress and emotionally eating, and then the next one I posted today was essentially the feeling of sometimes lack of motivation and self-sabotage. And so wanted to touch on both of those things because that's, for those that don't know myself or my wife and Jen is, one of the things that we're obviously passionate about is helping people, but we're coaches first. And, my wife and I, we've both been coaching for 20 years on strength conditioning and nutrition and nourishment and just wellness and being and all those things. And one of the common themes that we see time and time again of working with clients over the years is the feeling of emotions and stress, right? I can't remember what university it was, but they basically documented and found that basically one third of adults emotionally or eat based off of stress and anger. And this happens to all of us, right? Like we're not immune to it, right? Like we let sometimes our emotions kind of run the show and do those things, right? Like, I mean, I know for when we had to put our dog down, I had to own the fact that I was going to emotionally eat and kind of sob and sit in my feelings for a day and let that kind of run the show. But the reason why we feel this is so important, the reason why we created Diet Busters to begin with, you guys, is I know for so many of you guys that are hopping on here for, nutritional guidance and nutritional advice, and that's what we're here to provide. I'm not here to tell you that, if you're eating and living off of processed foods and, you're having a large amount of carbohydrates with no protein and your fat contents all over the place and you're all over the place, you're not going to be in good health standings. When we're going to talk, and we'll talk more about this next week, there are certain methods and certain things we've seen over 20 years of coaching work really, really well time and time again. But more importantly, the thing that we have learned to be true more than anything is 80% of success. I don't care if it's your diet, your fitness, your nutrition, your relationship, your business, whatever that may be, being a good parent is 80% of it is mental, emotional, and psychological. And when we're talking about stress, when we're talking about essential emotional eating, when we're talking about motivation, we're talking about your mental and emotional and psychological states, all right? And, one thing we've been talking a lot about in our 8-week shift program is learning to honor and learning to understand your state. And what we refer to as your state, you guys, is essentially the being in which you're in, right? Essentially the what's up, Ms. Val? Essentially the being in which you're in, right? And so it's understanding in different states we're different people, right? Like when you're in a happy-go-lucky state, you're probably a different person or you respond differently to things than when you're in an angry, frustrated, lack of sleep state, right? And so it's being able to see and respond to the events and to our environment and not let our environment dictate what our actions are, but understand that we have the power to drive and navigate our way through things, right? And so the reason why I posed those questions, because so often so many of us feel powerless in our scenarios because we stress. We don't, life happens, right? Like we stress out, we get anxious, we get depressed, we get angry, right? And so often we respond so much in an instant without allowing ourselves to get a little bit, understand that we have the power and we have essentially the ability to navigate our way through these things, right? Like for so many of you guys that find that motivation and perhaps self-sabotage and willpower, I guess, for a better way of feeling like we like to control things, right? But if I told you essentially control is an illusion, how does that feel, right? Like, how do you feel? Like, what's your visceral feeling when I say control is an illusion, right? And so for so many of us, we like to control things, but we oftentimes don't understand that if you're essentially emotionally eating and stress eating, perhaps you don't have control of your emotions, right? And so what I want to be able to kind of help invite you to, and this is where it kind of leads into our 3-day that's coming up next week, is when it comes to success, and especially when it comes to diet and nourishment in our eyes, it's understanding that it's not just what you put into your mouth and what you consume. It's more understanding of, well, if you're stress eating, what role does food play in your life? Why are you eating the foods you are eating, right? Is it an element of comfort? Is it an element of certainty? Is it an element of significance for you? Is it an element of contribution, right? Like we're going through that in our in our 8-week program of understanding the 6 human needs and understanding of how they relate to our life and on the day-to-day basis of what we do, and not only on our actions, but also what we consume, right? Because food meets all our 6 human needs depending on how we make them up. But if we don't understand these things and we just look at food as essentially a product to make us fat or skinny or healthy or non-healthy, perhaps that's also why you might be why you found your way into this group, because what you may or may not have been doing for so many years isn't working, right? And so our goal and our mission with this group, you guys, and basically us as coaches, is to really help open up a lot of the other avenues, the things in which people have not been taught or even just thought about, right? So much in my industry, it's you either go to the gym or you don't, or you're lazy, or you know what, you eat processed foods or you eat all organic foods. And either you do that because you care about your health or you don't. I'll admit, I thought this for a long time. And then until I realized, like, if that was all true, then why do we celebrate events with cakes? And why do we convene at coffee tables or at coffee houses? Why do we convene for birthday dinners, right? Like, food means so many more things to us that we don't necessarily give credit to. But then when we use those things as celebration, we get kind of bagged and ragged on for, right? And so when it comes to motivation, when it comes to stress, when it comes to essentially self-sabotage, those are states, and those are essentially 3 things that are going to guide that. It's first off, what is your physiology? How are you using your body? How are you using your face? How are you breathing? What is your posture? What are you focusing on? Are you focusing on things that are empowering or disempowering? Are you using language that is essentially driving certain emotional patterns for you to do these things, right? And these are things that we're covering in our 8-week program right now to help people understand that, yes, you know what, certain times it is your macro count. It is shifting your nutrients to make sure that we're seeing certain ratios over these things. But more importantly, it's being able to understand that no matter what the phase of life happens to come about for you guys, is you have the capacity and the ability to navigate your way through anything that comes up in life. Because I've experienced it myself, right? Like, my macros can be all in a line, but all of a sudden we have to put our dog down, or all of a sudden, I'm working 18 hours that day and something didn't work out, and all of a sudden I'm overstressed, undertired, whatever that may be. If I don't understand how to navigate and why I'm doing the things that I do, and understand of what needs these things are meeting, I'm always going to fall my way back. And that's what I call self-sabotage. And it's really usually not self-sabotage. It's usually you playing the game of life by the rules in which you have either consciously or unconsciously made for yourself. And then we go against those rules, and then we find ourselves back to the same place that we've been in for so many years, and we label it self-sabotage. And so these are the things we're going to discuss, and these are the things that, in addition to understanding why carbs, fats, and proteins are important for you, why we want certain ratios when it comes to your diet, why we want to use, your hormones to your advantage when it comes to eating and nourishing. But more importantly, it's understanding of why we all do the things that we do. And if we can get a better grasp on that, I promise you, whether it's diet, whether it's fitness, whether it's you being the best parent you want to become, or even getting a job promotion, all these things will elevate if you understand these things better. So I want to invite you yet again, starting next week, we're going to be doing a 3-day workshop. We're going to be diving into not only carbs, fats, and proteins, the hormonal balance and understanding, the certain ratios we've seen in 20 years of coaching, thousands of clients be beneficial, but more importantly, why you can relieve yourself from all the anchors and all the extra maybe physical weight and emotional weight that we all carry around, and understand that you can accomplish anything far past you think you're able to succeed to. So hopefully, yet again, first off, I appreciate everyone's feedback. I appreciate you hopping on yet again. I know it's a little maybe a little odd to just hop on and start commenting on a board that you just gained access to. So thank you very much for doing that. Appreciate your guys' time. I appreciate you guys for being part of this group, and I look forward to interacting. If you guys have more questions, you have more comments, you have more feedback, would love to hear from it or hear from you. Yet again, it's nice to be able to interact with you guys. Hope you guys are enjoying your Friday, and it's going to be a white one here apparently. So thank you guys. Take care. Be safe.